Hello, everyone. Today, Bryce and I will be presenting on Pele, a name that almost anyone in the world recognizes, even outside of soccer. But our project isn't just about Pele scoring goals or winning World Cups. It's about what he represented for Brazil, especially in a country that has always had complicated views about race and identity. Our argument is that Pele became much more than the greatest soccer player of all time. He became a cultural symbol whose success challenged racial stereotypes, redefined what it meant to be Brazilian, and helped create conversations about that continue in Brazil today.
Who was Pele? Pele was born in Edison Arantes do Nascimento in 1940 into a poor black Brazilian family. His father had been a soccer player too, but injury ended his career early, leaving the family without a stable income. Pele grew up working small jobs like shining shoes and selling peanuts to help support his family. These early struggles shaped him, and they also made him rapid rise even more impressive. What makes Pele's story stand out is that he didn't come from privilege, training, academies, or fancy youth programs like many kids in poor Brazilian neighborhoods. He learned the game with makeshift balls, sometimes even using rolled up socks. Despite this, his natural talent was undeniable. According to Britalia, Pele was signed to Santos FC when he was just 15 years old. 2 years later, at only 17, he scored in the World Cup final and helped Brazil win its first ever title in 1958. That moment changed the entire nation because a skinny, dark-skinned teenager from poverty had suddenly become the face of Brazilian excellence.
To understand how Pele influenced racial views in Brazil, we need to understand the racial climate he grew up in. For decades, Brazil pushed the idea of racial democracy. This meant that the country claimed it had moved beyond racism, especially compared to the United States. People often said things like, "We're equal," or "Brazil doesn't have racial problems." But the research paper from the Kellogg Institute shows that racial democracy was mostly a myth. Even though Brazil had a racially mixed population, black Brazilians often faced the worst poverty, the lowest paying jobs, and the least access to education. But because Brazil insisted it wasn't racist, nobody talked about inequality openly. Pele came of age during this time, when the country celebrated Afro-Brazil culture in music and dance, but didn't offer equal opportunity to Afro-Brazilian people. So his rise into the national spotlight wasn't just a personal achievement, it went directly against the idea that race didn't matter in Brazil. His presence on the world stage forced Brazilians to confront their contradictions.
Pele as a national hero. When Pele helped Brazil win the World Cup in 1958, the entire country erupted. He became a symbol of national pride and almost instantly. He didn't just become a hero because he was a good soccer. He became a hero because he represented Brazil at its absolute best. The Brazilian government quickly realized this. They used Pele as a symbol of a modern, unified Brazil. During the years when Brazil was under military dictatorship, Pele was often portrayed as proof that the nation was successful, strong, and globally respected. His success also shifted what the world thought of Brazil. Before Pele, the country wasn't seen as a major soccer powerhouse. After Pele, Brazil became known for the beautiful game. And because Pele was a black Brazilian representing the nation so proudly and so visibly, he forced the country and the world to recognize the black Brazilians weren't just part of the country, they defined it. This is one of the ways Pele's impact went far beyond sports. He helped shape the identity of an entire country.
While Pele never considered himself an activist, the social impact of his career was massive. Many journalists and historians describe Pele as someone who changed racial attitudes simply through his presence and success. The Duke University article, Influence on Others, talked about how Pele inspired black mixed youth race, who rarely saw themselves represented in power or media. Pele was everywhere, on posters, on TV, in newspapers, on billboards. He was an image of success that black Brazilians could look up to. At the same time, Pele wasn't immune to racism. Crowds yelled insults, opposing players targeted him because of his skin color, and some Brazilian newspapers tried to stereotype him in his early career. But the bigger he became, the harder it was for people to deny his importance. Pele's fame made it impossible to pretend Brazil didn't have racial inequality. A country that claimed to be racially equal now had to explain why its number one hero came from a group that still faced discrimination.
Sports and racial conversation. Sports can be one of the strongest ways to bring people together, and one of the most powerful ways to challenge racial assumptions. In Brazil, soccer is the number one sport, and the national team represents the identity of the entire country. Pelé changed the image of the Brazilian national team by making it more diverse and more inclusive. His presence reshaped what Brazilian identity looked like on a global level. According to the Christian Science Monitor, Pelé became a figure who unified the country during the political tension, but also someone who forced Brazilians to ask questions about fairness. One of those questions was, if this black Brazilian athlete could represent the entire nation internationally, why were the black Brazilians still treated unfairly at home? Pelé didn't directly confront these issues publicly, but simply by exiting at the level he did. He made these conversations unavoidable.
Even today, Pele plays a major role in Brazil's discussion about race, equality, and representation. When he passed away in 2022, the BBC reported a huge emotional reaction from black Brazilians, who saw him as more than a soccer player. They saw him as a symbol of hope. Modern black athletes and entertainers and political figures in Brazil still look up to him. Pele helped open the doors that allowed others to succeed. His influence can be seen in players like Neymar, Vinicius Jr., and countless others. Brazil continues to struggle with problems like racial inequality and police violence, but Pele's legacy still inspires activism and pride today.
To conclude, Pele's impact reaches far beyond the soccer field. He grew from a poor child in a deeply unequal country to the most famous athlete in the world. His success changed how Brazil viewed race, how the world viewed Brazil, and how young black Brazilians viewed themselves. Pelé wasn't a political activist in the traditional sense, but his entire career was political because it challenged stereotypes, changed national identity, and forced the country to confront inequality. His legacy continues today, proving that sports can shape culture, influence society, and push conversations forward in ways the speeches or policies sometimes cannot.